mistaken in, but we're gonna figure it out.
There you go.
Today'll be interesting. We have, I get to lead your meeting today. Debbie is out on vacation, so you're stuck with me. And CJ, incoming president, is going to do our happy bucks and things like that, as well as our pledge. Byron Chitwood's going to lead us in prayer. Larry Mays is going to lead the four-way test, and of course, our reliable David Ellis will lead us in wonderful song. So let's get started.
Bow your head. Dear Lord, we thank you for this food and many blessings of the day. You certainly blessed me, oh Lord. Thank you for that. We ask that you watch over all of our servicemen, help get them safely out of Afghanistan and all the other Americans attached there. Look after our service people, and ladies, police officers, first responders, and firemen. These things we all ask in my name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First,
Is it true?
second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
third,
Will it build goodwill and better futures?
and fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Good morning, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Oh, it's afternoon now. Okay, yeah, you're right. I got a new song for you this morning. It's actually song number 17 in your book. I know you've never sang this song before. This is the very first time I've ever played this song, and it's probably going to be the last, I bet. But this song is called Dixie. And okay, we're gonna give it a shot, and it's number 17. It's got funny words in it, so if I start like I'm slewing, it's going to be what, Larry? Oh, you're annoying. Chill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, here we go. I wish I was in the land of cotton, old times there are not forgotten. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. In Dixieland, where I was born, and early on a frosty morning. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. I wish I was in Dixie, hooray, hooray. In Dixieland, I'll take my stand to live and die in Dixie. Away, away, away down north in Dixie. Away, away, away down south in Dixie. That wasn't bad, that wasn't bad.
Thank you, David. All right, let's get started with Happy Bucks. CJ, are you ready? Deck of Destiny?
I am ready.
Where's my microphone?
Spectacle.
Here it comes. I have to bring my accoutrement to the front. That's right. Okay. Just so you know, when I come around to collect your mandatory happy bucks, you are all happy today. I still know what you drive, and I'm filling in. So it is going to go to our satellite club. So all the money that we're collecting right now are going to seed money to our satellite club. So here I come. I'll start in the center table.
Okay, my first happy book has to do with a little housekeeping. If you look here, this is the last day our cleanup crew is responsible. Now, of those on the list, Annette, she cleans up after me all the time anyway, it's no change. And Dennisha, so glad you're here. And that's it. Yeah.
Wait, that's it?
3 hours. So at the end of the meeting, everybody help. Take your stuff to the trash. All right, my second happy book, you're going to be jealous. Last Saturday, something I always wanted to do, never thought I'd get to do. I flew an F-18. Yeah, I did. I even rolled it, I looped it, I had the darndest time you ever seen. The only bad part of that, it was a simulator. We were in Pensacola, Florida, and we went to the naval base there in Pensacola, and were able to get on the base, and then went through the Blue Angel Museum. Wonderful visit, and I saw the simulator. I spent $20 for 4 minutes, and I'll go back and do it again anytime I can. It's a hoot, and it actually loops and rolls. And I did all of that, and even though I'm a fairly high-time pilot, I crashed when I tried to land. I forgot my speed. I tried to land at 350 knots.
Daredevil.
You landed, okay?
That's it. $1 billion up in smoke just because you want to play.
I want to give my happy buck in here, and I'm really happy because tomorrow about 1:30 they're going to replace my right hip, and I'll be hopefully out of pain. So anyway, just ask for your prayers tomorrow. Thank you.
We'll start together. All right. This is, oh, here we go.
Well, looking at the calendar here, today's my anniversary, and I'm happy that I already remembered it, and she's still with me.
She's gonna hear about this. Let's go.
You get the dollar. There's a lot more going the other way. But after 42 years, she still got me.
I feel Katie's pain when she was trying to get all the bike stuff out of, into her name, and several of the rest of us. Since April, I've been fighting with Network Solutions to get the Rotary Post Office stuff so that I could have access to it. Finally, this week, I got it.
Woo! All right. Oh, here we go. Brother Chitwood.
In my prayers, I mentioned how blessed I was. I've got two of the best sons you could possibly have. And I took them fishing on Kodiak Island. Just got back last night, this morning at 2 o'clock. But anyhow, to borrow a phrase from Mark Twain, and tweak it a little bit, there's liars, and then there's damn liars, and then there's fishermen. We fished for 5 days, and our goal was to bring back 100 pounds of fillets each, which that's a pretty good goal. So on the 4th day, halfway through, we asked the gal that cleans the fish how many we had. She said, "Oh, you've got 400 pounds." So we finished out the last day, and we ended up with 650 pounds of halibut and salmon. The biggest halibuts we caught on salmon rods were 72 pounds. We caught 2 of those, then some 40 pounders, 50 pounders. I caught a 30-some pound king salmon. It just, our life went on, and that's the truth. So
Sounds like fish stories to me. So when is the fish fry? We can put it on the calendar.
He's bringing some over to his neighbor's house.
Okay, I got a $5. I get to announce today that as of last week, my husband is retired. Money actually changed hands last week, and our oldest son took on the business, and we don't have it anymore. So what I need is y'all's help for his new job title. I want a husband like Katie's got. You know, that she can just tell what to do. But my husband's not like that yet.
My husband just says he's not retired, he's under new management.
Yeah, well, see, that's what I think. I told my husband he could be my executive assistant, because I've always wanted one of those, you know, somebody to pick up my laundry and run me a bath. But he says something about being a kept man, so I don't know. We'll have to work that one out. But anyway, I'm real happy he's not business anymore.
Awesome.
Money over here?
Yes.
I've got $1 for picking up the luckiest old gray-haired man in the world to bring to Rotary today. And so far as I know, he did tell you the truth.
Is he sharing the fish, though?
Not yet.
I forgot to tell you that one more song I forgot to do, And it goes something like this. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear David. Happy birthday to me.
We really had that on the list.
We had that on the list, David.
Sit down right now.
Sit down.
Spoiling it all.
I didn't look at the list.
Sit down.
I know, but you.
Anybody else wish to give voluntarily that I don't have to meet with you afterwards?
We've already done it.
Okay. Not done, threat? Did you want to? Okay. All right, excellent. Now we will move on. That now, make sure I got the ace out of here. Let's see. Ooh, yes. You will either be revered or reviled, depending on what ticket you draw, but it will be something. All right, we're gonna read it slow.
822. 8. 5. 3.
Yay! All right. All right, hold on. You get this.
It was Gloria again? Yeah. I told you.
Gloria again?
That needs to be investigated. That just ain't right. I said that happened like that.
Ace of Hearts.
Oh, man. So close.
Thank you, CJ.
You are welcome.
All right, moving on, we have 2 announcements. One, David took care of this for us.
Oh, I didn't
His wife wanted to ensure that it was,
Jeez.
everyone knew it was his birthday, so happy birthday, David. Second announcement, PB&J. We were gonna end that this week, but Liz could not be here today, and Debbie's out today. So we get 1 more week to bring PB&J for fish, and you guys are gonna have to beat Larry, because he brought in like 6 bags over here. So anyway, we'll keep collecting it. Next week we'll take a picture, and then we'll send it all over. Okay, the next thing looks like Dwayne is up to introduce our speaker.
Oh, what about the brand new Rotarian?
We got
I'm
one
sorry.
more. I want to introduce a brand new Rotarian.
Thank you.
Sharon Booth, come up, just say a couple words for us. This is her first meeting.
So thank you for welcoming me. I am the interim superintendent for GISD, so I'm excited to be here. I was saying I was born in Sulphur Springs. This is kind of home for me, so I'm really glad to be back in Greenville. I've been here almost 5 years now.
I have something to say. She already agreed to work the Cotton Patch Challenge all day.
Well, she must be a good one. We didn't scare her off. That's good. You're welcome to the club.
Thank you.
Our speaker today is one of our own, Dennisha Denny with 3D Remax Real Estate in Greenville. And she's going to talk about the Heart of Greenville program. Dennisha, welcome.
Thank you. So I realized today, oh, you wanted me to have a microphone?
Yes.
Okay. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. So I realized today, I've been in the club since 2008, but I've never been the speaker. Like I've spoken, I've shared, things that were going on with our RILA students or things that we were doing in the club, with Interact, the Haunted Landmark, all of those things. But I've never actually spoken to you from this point of view. So thank you for having me. Thank you, David Ellis, for inviting me to come and talk about Heart of Greenville. How many of you have heard of the show or seen the show Heart of Greenville? Awesome. I was looking around the room and several of you have been on the show, and then several of you need to be on the show. So, all right, so you may not know where that inspiration came from, how I started the show. So I wanted to kind of share that with you. I told David, I was like, I don't know that I have a full 30 minutes about this, but I'm going to share with you how it came about, why I do it, and kind of where we're going with that and how it's grown. So in 2019, it was in July, I flew to Chicago for one of our REMAX conventions. It was a broker-owner convention. And a lot of you have been to those with your businesses, and you always try to have one thing that you take away and come back and implement. And the thing that they were really talking about were podcasts, that it was really the next thing. And so I'm like, I kind of know what a podcast is. I don't really listen to them. I've heard of them, but I just kept hearing it over and over. So I was on the plane flying back home, and I started thinking about this podcast. Like, what do I want to call it? Who would come on the show, and what would we talk about? So I did all of that, had it all planned out in my notebook, and the plane landed, and that notebook was in my purse, and I didn't pick it back up. You know, you get back home and you get back to business and back into your routine. So that sat in my purse all that time. So we'll fast forward to May of 2020. During COVID, the Herald Banner was doing a podcast called The Lighter Side. And so they were interviewing different local people, and I was on that list. And so Drew Myers was the person who hosted that. So, and thank you for being a guest today.
You're welcome.
We skipped the part of guest, so, but it is like your second or third time. And he's been a speaker here, so you kind of already know him. But so anyway, I met him through doing that interview. And then we just got to talking about what he does, and he does community podcasts in other cities, in Melissa and Solana. And I'm sitting there, and my book came back to me, like those notes I took on that airplane and my takeaway of what I wanted to do from 2019. And so at that point, my agents didn't know I was looking at going to Roy City at opening an office. And I was like, hey, will you step outside with me for a minute? And so we step outside, and I start telling him what I was thinking about doing. And he's like, you know, we could do that. I wanted to do it in Roy City. I was moving into that area. I didn't know anyone there, but we kind of already had that going on here, so I wanted to kind of do it next door. So we started that process of conversation. Well, then I'm like, well, podcast is cool. Like, you turn it on in the car, you listen to it at home, but wouldn't it be cool if you had video, like people could see it? Because when I would listen to podcasts, I couldn't see and feel, I could hear their emotion, but I couldn't see it on their face. And so I'm like, hey, Drew, can we make this a video series? And so he's like, we'll figure it out. So we started working on creating the video series. And that's how we ended up being a podcast and a video series, where we air it on Facebook, on our business page. We also air it on our YouTube channel, also on our Remax 3D Real Estate page there. And then it also airs on Friendly Live, or Friendly News on Fridays. So it's really kind of transformed, but I really want to share with you why I do it. Yes, I had that dream of having a podcast, and yes, I wanted to share about positive things about Greenville and about Hunt County, because we started a campaign 2 years prior to that called Love Where You Live, and we really started promoting our community, because those of us who have lived here for a long time, sometimes we think about and hear the negative, and we forget to see the positive. And so that Love Where You Live campaign kind of rolled over and became our mindset of loving our community. So when it came time to naming this and taking it into this direction, Heart of Greenville just seemed to fit in talking about what people love about Greenville. And so we started with that. But what I also love is every one of us has a story. And I know so many of you, and I've worked with you in different service projects, but until we sit down, I don't know your real story. What makes you the way you are? And I don't know why you love this community. And it's been really cool to sit down and really get to know people and hear their story. So one of the things I've learned, people that maybe I just knew them on the surface, maybe I just knew them by name, by the end, I had so much respect for them and for their journey and what they'll share. So one of our agents, she had someone moving here from California who was like, what's Greenville like? You know, what's the atmosphere? And so she called me and told me about her client. I was like, okay, send them this one, this Heart of Greenville, and she sent it on to them so they could get a feel for our community. Because when someone is sharing their story and sharing about what they love about the community, that's different than a billboard on Interstate 30 driving by saying, come and play with us here. But you can feel and see what's going on in our community. There have been so many stories that I'm gonna turn the slideshow on just so you can kind of see who some of the people have been. Lonnie Schoenfeld was our very first guest. He took a chance on me. I'm like, I called in and told him we were doing this Heart of Greenville, and I wanted his story, and I wanted to talk about what he loved about Greenville. And I said, meet me at this house, because we were going to go to one of our listings. And because I thought this will be great. We'll go to a listing, we'll kind of promote the listing, we'll set up in a kitchen or living room and do this interview. come to find out, it's not the best thing to do because people started working from home. Their animals were home. We had a dog jump in the truck once. We've had to chase animals. We've had to clear off people's clutter, and so it has evolved to where it is today, being up on the 3rd floor at the landing, which is where we shoot the show today. But Lonnie had lost his 2 grandsons, and I wasn't sure if he was quite ready for that, to talk about that. But he's so open, and he's been, I appreciate and respect how he's been through that journey, because none of us could even begin to fathom what he went through. And for him to sit down and share that, someone else who's gone through that now has a story to go back to and can relate to that. And so when I did that very first show, I'm a real estate broker. I'm not a host, but that moment I realized this was something really cool. And so we started with Lonnie, and then we moved on to several different people. Barbara Horan was one of them, Dana Cash. But one of the people that I interviewed was Dennis Strickland. Do y'all remember Dennis?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I met Dennis at the Texan. I love to go into the Texan, and I love their chicken salad scoop and their peach tea detox. I love to drink that. So go in there a lot, and he would be there, and he was so full of life and just so happy. And he was like, you know, I would always leave happier than when I came in, whenever I sat down and talked to him. And so he told me, he was like, you know, I'm just living my best life. You know, he loved where he was in life, you know, and he was in his 80s. And he's like, I'm just living it up. And his attitude was so contagious. And I said, okay, Dennis, I have the show, Heart of Greenville, I'd really like for you to come on the show. And he's like, no, I'm too old. Nobody wants to hear my story. And I'm like, no, Dennis, they really do want to hear your story. I want to hear your story. And I said, you're such an inspiration that you still feel in your 80s that you are living your best life. And young people need that encouragement. They need to hear that. So he's like, I'll think about it. So finally one day, I was in there again, and I ran into him, and I said, are you ready? And he's like, you know, I don't get around very well. And I said, okay, we will come to your apartment. You won't have to leave your apartment. You just stay there, and we'll shoot the show there. And he was like, okay, fine. So he finally agreed to do that. So we went to his apartment that day and shot the show. So funny story, the show's only supposed to be 30 minutes long. Drew has a sign that he shows me when I'm 20 minutes in, so that I know I have 10 minutes to wrap it up. Well, because of the way his apartment was set up, I couldn't see Drew because he couldn't get around to the other side. I was supposed to look through Dennis to a mirror over the piano for this sign, and I never saw it. I never saw the sign. But you kind of start getting that feeling like, I might be talking too long. Like, this feels longer than 30 minutes. So I finally wrap it up. It ended up being like 50 minutes long. But we talked about his whole story. He shared so much with me that later, that we shot that video, I believe it was in late September, early October, somewhere in there, and then he passed away October, November timeframe. So he passed away a very short period of time after we did that video. When he passed away, I realized the legacy that he got to leave here, because he shared his story. He was open. He had so many things, there's so many little nuggets in there. None of us realize how many nuggets we really have inside of us to share with other people until we sit down and really start talking about our story. And so when he passed away, they asked if they could play that video, and they did. They played it then. And then when his birthday came along, they were like, hey, can we play this? We're having a birthday party at the Texan. Can we play this video again? And I'm like, absolutely. So it just touched my heart. That's my motivation when I'm doing this. We don't ever know if we have tomorrow or not. But what I love about being able to do this is capturing people's story and finding out what they love about our community and sharing that. And that I don't know, it touches my heart to know that, that we do that. People that we pass by every single day, we have no idea what they lived with in their childhood. Benita Kay shared that she was molested as a child, and talking through that, and her talking about that journey, and her just how she's been renewed in her spirit through that journey. We've had Paige Stradling talked about suicide. Her nephew tried to commit suicide and did not die, and talking about that experience and what that's like. Theresa Sadler's been on the show. She talked about abortion. I knew that she was part of the abortion clinic, but I didn't know she actually had an abortion, and how you process that and how you deal with that. And so this is what keeps me going and why I keep doing it day after day, or I say day after day. We record it once a month. So Drew comes in, we record the Heart of Roy City, and then on Wednesday we record Heart of Greenville. So today we shot 2 videos this morning. David Weiland was one of those, and Mayor Jerry Ransom was the first one, and then I have 2 more this afternoon. And so then they just run every week on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channels. So that's how we're pushing it out. Some of our other guests were Mr. David Ellis. So David came on the show. I was super excited. Like, he's everywhere. I look up, he's at my church. He's like at every networking function. I'm like, I need to know what you do. I need your story. Like, you're so plugged in. So he came to be on the show. Well, Sheila came with him, which I thought was really cool because she wanted to hear what he had to say. We finished our conversation, and Sheila's like, wait, I thought you were going to say this and this and this. Like, she's like saying all those things we needed to capture. I'm like, girl, come on, sit down. And we did a little mini show with Sheila, and she like told the rest of the story. It was so great. It was so much fun. But it's so, you don't ever know where a conversation's gonna take you, and what it's gonna do for someone else. Because I do have other people who say, I watch your show every week, or I didn't know this about someone. Hood Kearns was on my show early on, and over Thanksgiving, she was at home doing some knitting, and we did a marathon on Thanksgiving Day, because Thursday's our day we run the show. On Thanksgiving Day, we decided to do a marathon, and we just ran on a loop every single Heart of Greenville we had done on that day. And she turned it on, and she was doing her knitting. She wrote me a letter and sent it to me, and she told me she turned it on and just watched all the episodes while she was knitting. And she said, I learned things about people I've known all of my life that I did not know. And I think that's super cool that we can do that. Katie's been on the show. She was on the show early on, but she talked about insurance the whole time. We talked a lot about insurance. So if you need to know anything insurance, go watch that episode on the Medicare, Medicaid. Yes, we got your whole story of how you got to that. And then we got how that all works, because I didn't know. I'm saving that video for when I need it. I'll know what to do with that. So, but it's been a great experience. Misty's husband, Byron Britton, came on the show. I had to twist his arm too. He really wanted to send Misty. He's like, let Misty go on the show. I'm like, no. She's like, she made him come on the show and do that. So we've expanded it, Greenville, Roy City, and Farmersville. So we're in all 3 locations. One of the things that's done for me is build new relationships in those communities. But what's been really cool is, for example, in Farmersville, I met the mayor, Brian Wiebold. And they were getting ready to do the Audie Murphy, the sister signing between the city of France and Farmersville, and they wanted someone to live broadcast that. Okay, we're a week away from that. He calls me and he's like, hey, do you know anyone who could do this live broadcast? And I'm like, we're a week away and you don't have that figured out yet? And then I realized Friendly does that. And so Friendly and Gabe were able to go over to Farmersville and go record and make that live for them. And so it's just building a bridge between all of our communities, because we are all merging together as we all grow, and it's allowing us to have bigger networks with each other. Now I can go into the different communities and know people like we do here, but it opens up so many doors in that way. And it's really cool because a lot of people have similar but different stories. So, okay, do you have any questions? I'm gonna open it up for questions. This is gonna be your earliest day that you've ever left Rotary, by the way.
Hey, this isn't a question, it's a statement, but you've given me great gold. I can go to Janine Cunningham, tell her I've seen her picture posted in the post office.
Wait, I've had some really phenomenal people. Like Janine, she had so much history. She was one of those that I wish that I had hit record before I hit record, because she was sharing so many of the different organizations and things that she started in our community. She is like the backbone to so many of the different, like the Bras for the Cause, but she was a part of the at St. Paul's with that, starting that school. There's so many things that she was affiliated with and a part of. And I know it's hard for you sometimes, people to sit down and start talking, but it's very conversational. I don't have a script. I don't have a set number of questions I ask. We literally just sit and talk, and as you talk, I ask you questions, and that's what we do. And today, David's like, I don't really want to talk about myself. I'm like, David, that's why we're here. But David did a really good job, so we had to talk about him jumping out of airplanes.
Oh, yeah.
But you'll have his episode will come out in 2 weeks.
Hey.
Yes. All right. Oh,
How do you
CJ.
decide who you want on your show? Do they come to you, or do you say, oh, I just really want to talk to that person?
That's a great question. A little bit of both. So some of it is I knew them and I know a little bit about their story, and I really want to have them come on the show for that so we could get their story. Some of it's because someone recommended them. So like Rob Moore, Lonnie had recommended Rob Moore, which was so funny. I've known Rob Moore's voice all of my life. I'd never met Rob Moore in person. And so it was, it was a cool experience to get to do that. And so it's a lot of times it's recommendation. It needs to be someone who wants to talk about their story. Maybe they overcame something, or maybe it's just the fact that they're 3 generations. Like Brett Money was on the show. His family, the Moneys, have been here forever, and so we had tons of things to talk about, like with him for those generations that have come to pass, and why people stay here. I'm always interested. Like, why do you stay? We could live anywhere in the world, and why do we stay in Greenville, Texas? And so I always love hearing why people stay. Do y'all want to know the answer to that?
Yes.
It's a vortex, it just sucks you in.
I know, it won't let you out. That's what I thought, because I tried to leave multiple times. It won't let me out. It's the people. That's always the answer. Not always, but in large majority, it's the people. It's the relationships, which is why we're all part of Rotary. We all have these relationships. We all want to help each other. And speaking of that, I'm going to give Katie a plug. She's working her tail off on this bike race, and she needs as much help as she can get. But one of the reasons we're in Rotary is because we like working together, and we enjoy that, and we get to know one another, and we can love and appreciate what you've gone through. When you've sweated your tail off at the bike race, you bond. There's nothing else that you can say other than bonding when you do that. So I'm so thankful she's picked up that torch to do that. So.
Is the torch?
Yeah.
Very large one.
Yes, we had a conversation at 4:45 this morning at Camp Gladiator.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll track you down anywhere. That's what the motto is.
This is true. Yeah, this is true.
How did you come up with that pick a number at the end of each episode?
Okay, great question. So at the very end of the show, I ask you to pick a number between 1 and 20, and I'm going to ask you a random question. So when I first started, I had a set question that I always ask my guests every single time. People started coming prepared. Like, they actually watched another episode and they were prepared, and then they had this canned answer, and I'm like, I don't want a canned answer. I want like something off the cuff. Like, I want you to have to dig deep and answer it. And they're random questions. So I just created 20 random questions with the help of Google, and just found questions that I thought were interesting. And now people pick a number between 1 and 20, and they always pick 7, 13. Those are the main ones. 7 and 13 are my biggest ones. I'm gonna have to like create 7A, 7B, so I could change it up a little bit. But I always like to know why they picked their number 2, because maybe it's a football number, from back in the day, or sometimes it's their birth month, or different reasons that people choose their number. But it just adds a little fun element to the end. True.
The camera can't see that look.
Hold on. Listen, I know he's gonna ask a question. I gotta be ready.
It's not a question, it's a statement. The reason why I wanted to get involved with it is because Dennisha early on said she wanted RE/MAX in the real estate brokerage to take a back seat to the community. She is celebrating all the wonderfully great things about Greenville, Texas, or Royce City, or Farmersville. It's not about real estate. She mentions RE/MAX 3D real estate once every single episode. And I thought that was cool. And I said, if you can continue to do that, I will be a part of this project. So I think that's something that's very admirable.
Yes.
Thank you. I did want to show that had to do with our community. There's enough push for the business. You guys know I'm in real estate. I love this community so much, and I really wanted to capture this community in that way and be a sponsor.
Just curious, would you
give us about 2 or 3 of those questions that you asked on the end,
Yeah,
on those numbers,
some people
PM
don't
answers?
You want to hear it?
Yeah, just like to hear a few of them.
Okay.
Go ahead and
Okay,
Bob.
Larry, we'll go with you first. Pick a number.
12.
12, okay.
If you had said 7 or 13, she would have had those memorized.
I would have been like, you could have a superhuman power, what would it be?
Yeah.
Okay, your number was 12. That question is, what has been the most difficult challenge so far in your life? All right, pick another number. See, but that's a really good question because it will take you places.
Number 1. What's number 1?
Number one is.
I wouldn't say that for the world.
Yeah, that'd get you in trouble there.
No, I would say the best question or trouble that I've had would be when you start a business and you start it with nothing and you grow it to something. It's difficult to start. Once you start, there's no turning back. You know, that would be more or less the answer I would have.
I love it. And after your hip is replaced, Larry, I want you to come on the show. But you can't say 12 next time.
Yeah.
Number 1.
Number 1, okay. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received and have you applied it? And that was the question I used to ask every single person so they were ready for it. Which is I like the question, but all right, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received and have you applied it?
Listen to Sheila.
That's a good one, David.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That keeps me out of trouble.
Yeah. To the best of your ability.
Yes. Number 20.
All right, 20 is, what is the smartest thing you've ever done?
Mary Sheila.
Listen.
So I actually had that happen. So I interviewed Mayor Wiebold over in Farmersville. Well, first I interviewed the mayor's wife. And her number was 20. So I asked her that question, what's the best decision, the smartest thing you've ever done in your life? She was like, marry Brian Wiebold. So then a few episodes later, I interviewed Brian. I wasn't thinking about him when I said pick a number, I didn't think about him having watched her episode and remembered what her number was, and he was like 20. And I look at 20 and I was like, what's the smartest thing you've ever done? He was like, marry Misty Wiebold. I was like, okay, that's sweet. The two of you gave the same answer, but it was fun.
Aww.
CJ, you had your hand up. 2. No, I don't think anyone's ever said 2. Who do you look up to the most, and what qualities do you love about them? And a lot of times that comes up, someone from their past. I always love to know, someone inspired you to be who you are, especially in business. Somebody put something inside of you that made you want to be in business, or want to be your own boss, or strive to be the best you can be. There's always someone who did that, and I always love to find out who that was. Sometimes it's a coach, sometimes it's a teacher, sometimes it's a family member, but what would your answer be?
That's a hard question.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
is, and part of the true answer, of course, would be the Lord,
Right.
and so
For
much
sure.
to emulate there. But I think my grandma has her worked, and the kindest person you ever wanted.
That's awesome.
Good answer.
And we carry those things on. I think those people who make that impact in us are the people that we carry that on inside of our spirit, and we carry their legacy on with that. All right, one more number, no, we'll move on.
14.
Katie's got 14. What is the craziest and most out of character thing you have ever done? That's a perfect question for you.
There's so many.
That's a monkey. I don't know that there's anything out of character for me. It's just,
I mean, you
think
do
the
live way on the
The
edge.
craziest thing I think I've ever done is to have a master's degree, be working in that field of mental health, and then one day come home and tell my husband I'm quitting this job and I'm going to become an insurance agent. He went, what the hell are you talking about? And just not knowing anything, it just was a niche that I knew needed to be filled in the Medicare world. And I just got my license and just spent the next 2 years learning that craft, not knowing if we were going to make any money ever. So that's probably the craziest thing. Not necessarily completely out of character for me because I'm liable to do anything, but definitely the craziest.
I believe that.
Yeah.
It is crazy when you step out to own your own business and do your own thing. Like, that's a huge step, and then your spouse has to be on board with you, and it's crazy, but it's a good kind of crazy. that puts that fire in you to go make it happen. So, all right, do you guys enjoy the show? Those of you that have watched it, is it something that
yes.
you enjoy watching? Well, I love doing it. If you have people that you recommend that you think would be great for the show, please do let me know. I want quality people that you want to hear from. So there may be someone in this community that you look up to or you know they've been a part of, especially those silent volunteers. You know those people that are always working behind the scenes and nobody ever realizes that's what they do. Bob Arrington. And they need to come be on the show and we need to talk about that. Well, I know, but you know what? Bob is always right there. He's always right under the radar, and working with Bob on Behind a Landmark, just incredible work ethic, and never skipped a beat, never asked. He did need our help, but he was always right there in it, making that happen. So, all right, thank you guys so much, and apparently I'm going to come back in October. I'm going to talk about my weight loss journey, so from losing 80 pounds. So we're going to talk about uncommon strength in October.
Thank you, Dennisha. That's a great program. The little nugget I took from it is Dennisha's here every Wednesday upstairs, and she could just sneak down and come to lunch. Yeah.
Once a month.
Okay.
I will do that.
Okay. We have to give her more time. Okay, so it's been a day of firsts. So I got to lead a meeting for the first time. CJ got to do Sergeant of Arms for the first time. Dennisha got to speak for the first time. Do we have anything else that we need to discuss today before we go? Don't forget, cleanup crew. It's all of us. We're getting out a little early, so we all have time for it. And greeters next week. Does somebody have that?
Yeah, it's, looks like Pamela Vickers or Troy. No, Pamela and Troy.
So if you see Pamela or Troy, or if you're watching, be here. Come greet us. All right. That's Rotary for today.
Hey, Tam, all about you today. Where's the peanut butter and jelly?
Oh, you could just stick it right there.
That was great. You did a great job. Yeah.